relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shal. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
say. Black Lives Matter. Attack cops in St. Paul, Minnesota. Throw rocks, rebar, fireworks, Molotov cocktails. 200 plus arrests. Gunfire hits San Antonio Police Headquarters. World's oldest priest says strict routine basis of long life. How the world fell out of love with Obama. Cornell West calls response to shootings weak. Facing historically low levels, Lake Mead officials are fending off a water war. Inmates break out of cell to save jailer's life. Oxycontin pills end up in the hands of criminal gangs. Micah Johnson was kicked out of Army for stealing someone's panties. The sex-crazed assassin. Paul Ryan plummets to 43% in the new primary poll. Twitter CEO hacked. Thousands stripped from mass nude photo. Naked models become canvases in New York City. Trump ready for war. Inside vetting of general. Security tight for Cleveland. Fears of violent protests mount. Hugh Hefner declares victory in sexual war against Republicans. He's related to most of them. Party considers softening LGBT language. Bartiromo defends Roger Ailes. Internal memo could hurt Gretchen Carlson's claim. That and more insanity on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV Broadcasting Network. How's everyone doing? It is Sunday, July 10th, here on the East Coast of what is more and more becoming what I unfortunately have to say most weeks is Nightmerica. It pains me to say it. Kind of rolls off the tongue. But we are in a chaotic situation. It's been growing for years. It's been a slow rolling boil for a number of years. And we are now in a very, very pivotal point in time. You have open criminality being forgiven in the case of Hillary Clinton, the Baphomet creature, baby, blood-drinking beast that she is. And I can only imagine that Donald Trump is no better. He's just here as a ringer. I truly believe that he is a ringer for Hillary Clinton to get all of the other Republican douchebags like the Bush family, and that he wasn't even going to get considered at all, mostly. You got your Ted douchebag from Texas, all these assholes in the Republican Party are the same like as the assholes in the Democratic Party. They're no different. They just represent a fiction. They're fictional characters in this stage, like was said, all the world's a stage and we're all actors on it. The Republicans pretend to be one thing and the Democrats pretend to be something else. And they might even believe, actually, to some extent, what they're spewing and vomiting out. But for the most part, they're all together when it comes to just destroying everything in their path. And it goes back far, far. It's a long story. It's a disturbing story of complete and total brainwashing of the masses for years and years and years, from religion to politics, mostly religion. We hear things like separation of church and state, but one cannot exist without the other, and this was part of the blueprint way, way far back, way, way back. This is the blueprint that's been used throughout the ages. It's just a little bit more sophisticated now, but it is and has the same effect that it has over the ages. A small group of people controlling society with their money and their power, and when they want to destroy everything and build it up again, this is unfortunately what takes place. Unfortunately, it's an absolute mess. And it's designed that way. We know that. It's a design that is, and a blueprint that's been rolled out consistently throughout time. And we know that it's just going to get worse. I do frown against people getting, shot and killed for no reason. We have, unfortunately, and of course, in tune with the economic destruction, the economic dematerializing of our way of life here, which most can't really see, because there's still many platforms of sustainability that keeps people working, that keeps, the people believing that there's still hope, believing that, that normalcy bias, the normalcy bias. Everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to go back to normal soon. And unfortunately, it's just not, because and you might find this funny or comical, but we are in the hands of evil. This country, this corporation, is a design, and that design that has been implemented over the years is now being deconstructed, and they're going to be bringing in a new system. And I've been personally viewing it now for, Christ, what is it? Maybe 10 years or so, a little over 10 years, through all different phases of the deception, the Alex Jones deception, the Patriot movement, which we know is, after figuring out, and unfortunately, not that I need to take any credit for this, and I don't, and I can't, and I wouldn't, after listening to Clint for close to, I want to say, I think I was introduced to his work maybe last year this time, by Greg, and Greg even said, he said, you know what, I knew that there was something up. I wasn't quite sure what it was. I knew that there was another deception on top of we all know that there was another deception on top of that deception, the Alex Jones deception. And then from the Alex Jones deception, what Greg had coined the conspindustry industry, where people will continually talk about things that are going to save us, things that we need to grasp onto, like a life jacket, like the Constitution. The Constitution will save us, or this will save us, or that will. Somebody is going to put an end to all of this corruption. And then we go around thinking that the United States of America was this construction that would, we the people, blibbity blibbity blue, and it's not. It's not. We the people, them and their posterity. That does not include you or me. It's just a nice little story for people to look back on and say, oh, look. And of course, what do we have just a week ago? July 4th, another absolute farce, another just, sick, demented joke. It keeps the whole patriot thing moving. And those people were deceived back then, too. Those people who fought and died for George Washington, those people were deceived, too, because, see, Georgie was related to the people across the pond, the so-called people that we were fighting for our independence from. And then it turns out, through genealogical studies, not only Janai.com, but through Burke's Peerage. Even if you spell it wrong, you'll be able to Google it, Burke's Peerage. You'll find out that the presidents that have been elected throughout the United States presidential lineup, for those of you who think of things in sports terminology, the lineup for the last 200 years have been people that are related to the monarchy over across the pond. And of course, it turns out that Barack Obama is also of this bloodline lineage, as Barry Dunham. People can't even imagine. They think that this guy was born Barack Obama. I mean, just an absolute fucking brain disease that is going on and has gone on for way too long. Just going on for way too long. And people still think that this has something to do with us. We are the host, they are the parasite. It ends there. Everybody wants to be a United States citizen. I've seen over the last 6 months to a year, people, on the local news with the local prostitutes. 20 people were made United States citizens today. That's so that they can take your money if you can find a job. And then they can test, they can do biological testing on you, and they can do all kinds of other things to you as a result of, U.S. code. Clint has pointed out many times about the ongoing biological and chemical warfare operation that's been going on. That as a United States citizen, you been induced into contract to be part of the testing, like a guinea pig in a cage. And of course, people don't understand this. They can't even fathom that this is going on. And that's why that the deception is so deep. The deception and the brainwashing is so saturated. And even George Carlin said, as he was talking about, what the heck was he talking about? I don't even know if I can play it. But he said, sports and television, there to distract you from how bad you're being fucked by the 1%. He talked about the sanctity of life and the sanctity of death. Sanctity of life and then the death penalty, right? And then from that, he went into, we should just start having, naked, upside down crucifixions at the halftime of the Monday Night Football games. Boiling people in oil. Burning people at the stake. Make it a pay-per-view event. In this sick country, people would, we'd get over it. And then he said, when people were just kind of joking, like, oh, that's too much, you're going too far. And he said, the blood is already on our hands. We're just talking a matter of degree. And I've seen it so many times, and I saw it, watching it on cable television. I remember watching that very show that he did, where he said the blood is already on our hands. It's just a matter of degree we're talking about at this point. And it's and it really all the times that I heard it and all the times I've listened to his stand up, and when he started getting political and started talking about the abortion, where he started talking about abortion. He said the Republicans only care about you when you're in the womb. Once you get out, they want to put a gun in your hand and you go fight somewhere. And it made a lot of sense. It made a lot more sense than it did before, because I wasn't very political then. On a side note, the dog got sprayed by a skunk. And he spent the whole night outside. I felt so fucking bad for him. I knew he was just sitting out there. He was just like, pretty soon, somebody's going to let me in. And he, and I'm like, no, it's that skunk out there. And I think he killed it. But he walks up, and I'm like, oh, shit. He got skunked. And you know that smell. Just imagine it right up fucking close. Oh, my God, man. Saturated. It just overwhelmed me. It overwhelmed my respiratory tract and sinuses. It was so fucking horrific. I imagine one of the only things that smells worse is probably like a bunch of dead bodies that have just been sitting there not taken care of. Very, very powerful and pungent. Just like, oh my, and again, we smell it. We drive down the road, we smell the skunk smell. We drive down and we know that smell, and we only smell it for a little bit, but then you smell it and it's right there, and it's awful. It's fucking. Was it awful? It was awful. It was so powerful. It's like, there's got to be a creator when he creates an animal like a skunk, and its defense mechanism is fucking making you stink. I mean, anything attacking has got to be like, I was like, get over here. And then he just stopped, and then he walked over, and he was like, like he would usually do, because you're yelling at him. But then I was just like, it happened. It's bad. So you never want that to happen. Ever. Don't do it. Give me like 20 seconds. I'll be right back with you. UCY.TV, Broadcasting Network, Cold Reality Radio. Give me about 15 seconds. Be right back. Okay, just getting some updates on the deskunking of Jack the dog. Anyway, so it's very disturbing.
On me?
No,
All right.
no, and I got the fan here.
That's what I was worried about.
So sorry about that, folks.
It lingers.
It does. It's bad. It's so bad. It was so bad. And then I felt really bad just leaving him outside.
I think the best thing was the rain. Like, it washed.
No, it says when I read it that when you don't want to spray him down because what's on him will spread to other areas of his coat and everything else like that. So,
Oh, you didn't mention that.
well, it is what it is. It happens at 10:30 at night. It's gonna. And then what are you going to do? I mean, when it started raining, I'm sure he wasn't standing out in the rain.
I know, but it's off the grass, and it's off it washed whatever it was on. It washed into the ground.
Right.
So, and I think he didn't get it real bad. He got it here.
He got it on his face.
Probably, and they're like, "Don't put this shit in his face." And I'm like, "Oh, it's going in his face."
Yikes. Well, it's a few weeks ago. What was it? 3 weeks ago, he ate so much that he nearly killed himself. He ate so much that he was walking around like he was drunk.
Senile in his old age.
He was walking around staggering like he was drunk, and I'm like, oh, he's dying. He's got a tumor on him. He's got a tumor on his undercarriage as well that we're obviously monitoring. But the thing here is that so he starts moving around. I'm like, oh, the cancer. It's finally got him. It's traveled to his brain. He's going to die right here. So I'm like scared to death for him. And then he goes upstairs, and about 5-10 minutes later, I go up there, and he's just got piles of undigested third world country dog food that probably had, the China shipped over here. So he's sitting there shaking. I had to take him outside. He just big piles of undigested food, like 3 or 4. I walk up there. He's in the tub. I'm like, where the fuck is he? He's in the tub, and he's just. I wanted to get a video of it to show, like exactly how bad it was, but then I had to sit outside with him for like an hour or so to make sure. I gave him some water and make sure that he was that he wasn't vomiting anymore. And then I brought him in, put him in his cage, and he survived. He didn't eat for a couple days. So I'm wondering whether it was food poisoning or a combination of eating so much and then. Anyway. Yeah, they also mentioned apple cider vinegar as well. So anyway, so back to the fraud that is America. And having said that, I wouldn't actually. I could say I wouldn't want to be born in any other place, but after hearing about certain areas of Europe that look really incredible, like Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Maybe being born in the Netherlands wouldn't have been bad, but here we are, and so it really doesn't apply to us. See, that's the kicker right there. It really doesn't apply to us. They teach us dog Latin, which is a language of vulgar language, like I'm sure we've heard Clint say on this platform. I don't know if a lot of you in the chat and listening that would have heard him over at RBN, but I certainly would not have known about his work and studies if it wasn't for Greg. So everything happens for a reason, I do believe. And so we've got this shooting and this guy, probably another wind-up toy, this Micah guy, and once you get somebody to join the military, whether it be for the gung-ho reason or just for an education and things like that, you can really find out, and I'm sure that they've really cross-examined a lot of these people and said, hey, we can turn them into weapons at some point. We can do something to further our agenda. Further that agenda down the road. There's no doubt that this guy was a wind-up toy, as was Holmes, the Batman shooter, and so many of these other agendas. And who was even saying it the other day? I heard Steven Seagal was also insinuating, if not outright saying, that he believes that these are operations. They're not happenings, they're operations. So, I mean. So we've got that. We have police officers that are no longer breathing, and the system has exactly what it needs to further the agenda along. Pictured the female soldier who pervert Dallas cop killer sexually harassed as colleague reveals murderer used to steal girls' panties. And on a side note, Cuba Gooding Jr. reveals that he's broke. So somebody show him money. That's sad. That's sad. We've got it's all very sad. Johnson, 25, shot dead, 5 officers in a killing spree that began during a march by the campaign group Black Lives Matter. And so what's going to happen to these Black Lives Matters instigators? What's going to happen there? What's going to happen there? It says that they're... What's this?
Don't you want to support my movement?
What's your... What is that movement?
Which lives matter?
Witch? Ooh. She's a witch. Hey, as long as you're not hurting anybody.
As long as they follow the rules, I don't have to hurt them.
The hardest thing is trying to determine which one you'll kill. Anyway, so this guy, apparently, Anna Ma accused Johnson of sexual harassment. She's an Asian woman with turquoise hair, and so this is relevant to the story. In addition to him being a killer, a cop killer, he was a sexual pervert, and so. What about Bill Clinton? What about Bill Clinton was the president of the United States and a sexual predator. Why is it that some people get away with things and others don't? Why? Why? I'll never know. We'll never know how many. We'll never know, will we? See what we got here. Let me kill some of this. We got too much drive on the guitar. Jack got skunked. Oh, yeah. Jack got skunked. little Jack the dog. He got skunked by Pepe Le Pew. He got skunked by Pepe Le Pew. He got skunked by Pepe. So let's see. So apparently this week, crimes that have been laid out and in detail that Hillary Clinton was supposed to face the music on in some way, shape, or form, just absolutely, boom, gone. That fucking jackass from the FBI, probably another family member, comes out and says, oh, it wasn't, a really good choice and junk that she made, but, nothing really bad came from it. And so, oh, by the way, I'm 8 feet tall and I'm a big fucking loser FBI guy. And so she is, after talking with Loretta Lynch mob, Billy and Loretta Lynch mob, maybe threaten lives, He said, listen, do you know how many people are dead? That people supposedly have said about the Clinton body bag, the body count. Are you aware of that? And then they're like, oh dear. Oh dear. Yes. Yeah, we will not be investigating any further. Just like when Bill Hicks says, when you become the president, which obviously he didn't know, he would have eventually found out, but he says, you're the president, you go in, there's a round table and there's a film of the JFK assassination from a completely, totally different angle, and coming from the grassy knoll and all that stuff, and then they just kind of turned it. The film goes off, they turn them and they say, any questions? And then you say, as the president, just what my agenda is. And so what we saw here was an absolute criminal activity being swept under the rug. And maybe not even swept under the rug, because it was so known. Many were speaking of it. Many so-called legal personnel said, "Yeah, this is bad. She could really face she could face the music here." Hillary, she could face the music. She could face the music. Hillary, she could do some hard time in the slammer. Hillary, you are a criminal bag of garbage. just like your husband Bill. Sexual predator, many women that, you know, kind of like the Bill Cosby thing, kind of like the whole Bill Cosby situation. But what happens to Billy? He travels to pedophile island with that Jewish billionaire guy. And apparently Kevin Spacey at some point. I think we all kind of like Kevin Spacey. We've seen him in movies, but I think he's hiding a whole lot. That guy. He's not obviously not what you see on the screen's not what's totally going on with him. Probably that, but at the same time, I think that he's on this. What's his name anyway? That Jewish billionaire guy who did like 6 or 8 months in jail for, he would have, anyone else, they would have been in there for much, much longer. I don't know what his name is. Dog shit McGillicuddy. Oh, Bill, you are a sexual predator. You are garbage. You are filth. You will burn. We hope. But I mean, this really should say to people, it should really kind of drive it home that we do not live in a society, and I know this, many of us know, we do not live in a society where everyone is equal. I mean, there are people that I work with that understand that she is filth and she is garbage and a criminal and not fit for any office, not fit at all to be a public servant. She's more of a private servant, if you know what I mean. And but they don't even question, like, how does this happen? It's because the board, the game, is tilted in the favor of the royals. It's funny, that song. What's that song? We'll never be royals.
It's called Royals.
Royals. And she says, we'll never be royals. Now, I knew that.
Lord.
Lord. Is it Lord? No. Is it Lord?
I don't know. I thought it was.
She's actually probably got royal blood because what? She's in the music industry. She's making records. She's making records. With Bruce Dickinson. She's Australian. She drinks Fosters. And she's probably part of the Australian bloodline. That's why she's in there. Of course, Madonna. We know why Madonna in the 80s was the material girl and like a bloodline virgin. It's because she's related to fucking George W. Bush. And the reason why George W. Bush was the president was because he had the bluest blood over Al Gore. But I don't even, depends on whatever the agenda needs. When Bush was in, they needed, and of course now Bin Laden's son vows to destroy America. I mean, this thing, you can't write stories that are this good. And the people buy it and they eat it like sustenance. Did you hear? Oh my God, Bin Laden's son is like he's going to kill us all. Did you hear? Oh my God. Fucktards that just love the drama. That's it. They just love the fucking drama. It's a movie, but it's reality. People, they can't discern anymore between fiction and reality. So whatever the television says, it's gospel, man. It's true. I know my government lies to me. I'm not naive. No. You just said that because you don't want people to think you're naive. You want people to think that you actually have the ability of discernment to say, which everyone knows that governments are corrupt. It's not that America, that we're just so awesome that we're beyond the ability to be corrupt. You know? No, we are the host. They are the parasite. It happens no other way. United States citizenship. It's a ship of fools, bro. It's a ship of fools, man. You don't want to be a fool. I don't think that, obviously we here have the ability of discernment. And we also know that there's levels. That there's levels of there's levels of deception. There's the original deception, then there's the Alex Jones deception, and then there's the conspindustry deception, all pushing everybody in one direction. Morning, JJ. Hope you're doing good. It's good to see you last week, hang out with you. At Freedom Palooza. Freedom Palooza. So it's obvious to anyone who's got even a quarter of their brain functioning that the reason why Hillary Clinton is not behind bars is because she is protected by the biggest criminals in the world. And now she's going to, she's going to be in the White House doing more damage, destroying more lives, and, as I said, Trump's just a ringer, man. He's just a ringer. And then we've got Trump, and I said this any number of times. I said it last weekend to a number of people. I said he didn't have to say that he was going to build a wall. He didn't have to say all of these very, very caustic things. He could have saved it. He could have said, hey, you know what? Now we're going to do something about this border. We're going to do something about the border situation. He didn't say we had to build a wall. He didn't say we had to ship everybody out of the country, out of the corporation. He didn't. But he did. Because he is there to exacerbate the divide and conquer. That's what Trump is doing there. So, how's he doing?
He still stinks.
He still stinks?
So I gotta get his face and stuff, and it's hard because you don't want to get it near his eyes or his mouth or anything.
Right. So yeah, so
Don't worry. It'll all be taken care
I'm worried. No, I want to help.
of. Yeah.
I want to help with the dog that's been skunked. I want to take part in the deskunking of the dog. That's now a song that I just wrote. Anyway, I'm insane. So yeah, and so yeah, it's obvious that in our society we have law enforcement, but truly the law enforcement is there to give us tickets, not peace officers, right? Every now and then, you will see the peace officer, and it's few and far between. But for the most part, it's here to kind of corral the commoners, and let them know that, hey, you can't just do whatever you want to do. We're here, and we're gonna enforce these fictional man-made laws. So make sure that you get that. Make sure that you understand. That's what we're doing here. And if by some chance, someone, mugs you or knocks you out, and we're in some, vicinity of this, we'll come and help you. But don't try to protect yourself. Don't try to, shoot the person who just clubbed you over the head, because then you're a criminal too. See. Mr. Officer, won't you protect me? I am the middle class. Will you protect me from the poor? Dear Mr. Officer, will you protect me from the poor? They're trying to take my money. Dear Mr. Officer, will you protect me from the lower class? Because the news told me that the poor was coming to get me. Mr. Officer, Mr. Officer, please don't give me a ticket. Dear Mr. Officer, I thought you were a peace officer, not a policy enforcer. Dear Mr. Officer. So yeah, so that's what they're doing here. And then what do we get? We get a full menu of CSI this, police shows, hospital shows, Homeland. Just look at all of it. Just look at all of the programming. And it's all based around bad guys and the law enforcement that protects the public from the bad guys. I mean, there is absolutely no end to the amount of programming out there and how it is all focused and designed to keep you in a state of, entraining you through entertainment, entrainment through entertainment, or what we think is entertainment. Just degenerative garbage. You could just, look at it. CSI, Criminal Minds, right? There's another one. And I really do believe, and I've said this before, that these mysteries where people commit crimes, they kill someone, they do something, and then they get, and it said they would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for, and then whatever that was, basically what they were just telling you was, you can kill somebody too, just make sure you cover your tracks and don't do this and don't do that. So they're basically telling you how to commit crimes. See, there's absolutely no place for that in society. Just think about just think about television in and of itself. Think about, what were some of the shows, what was it, Howdy Doody back in the day? What did we have? We had My Three Sons. We had Donna Reed, right? We had Doctor Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver. All of these, and I guarantee you most people's lives were not even anywhere near what those shows portrayed. And so what do we get? As we started getting into the 60s and we started getting in, the Dick Cavett show, right? So you started having all these talk shows, right? And of course we had the wars and we had all the machinations of the mountain, Iron Mountain. So we had all these things that were going on. We had them shipping the drugs into, Laurel Canyon, that whole thing. You can listen to Jan Irvin at Gnostic Media. There's been any number of people that have spoken about Laurel Canyon and all these different, the Doors, just all these groups, all these, a lot of these groups from Woodstock. A lot of these they were related to people. With Jim Morrison, right? His father was in the military. I think Jimi Hendrix, Purple Haze guy. Right, so we got Purple Haze. You got all these groups. They all had, they were all, or at least most of them were created to, the Summer of Love and all that other stuff. I mean, all these things were going on to create a distraction through music, through whatever popular culture was back then, drugs. They shipped the drugs in. People were high. They kind of didn't care so much. But they knew at some level they were going to get. And then you would imagine most of the the pushback was also controlled by the hidden hand. So just imagine a world where none of these things took place. I think that what a number one days without Jewish tricks. Was that on The Simpsons? That's interesting. Just imagine a world without degenerative television and I mean they controlled everything. They always have, and unfortunately it seems like they always will. A lot of people think that all these things just happen and that's the world and unfortunately this happened and we had no choice but to do this, we had no choice but to do that, and that's all bullshit. Turns out that the Fonda family is also part of these extended bloodlines. That's why Henry Fonda, that's why Jane Fonda, and all these people, they all played their role. What's up, Vince? They're all playing their part. And then it turns out that, John Voight, father of Angelina Jolie, is also, I mean, that's the reason why he was in the movies. That's why he was there, because he is part of these extended bloodlines. Same as Brad Pitt. Same, I'm sure, as Matt Damon. And Ben, what the fuck's his name? His buddy from Good Will Hunting. Matt Damon. I'm Matt Damon. I was in the Adjustment Bureau. Anyway, just imagine a society without this destructive shit. Oh, wow. So it says here, ever wonder what happened to those two creepy girls in The Shining? Remember when little red rum kid was going around? And then down the bottom it says, well, they grew up and it's Hillary. And did she pick her as her running mate?
I don't know.
Another for the people bullshit. Elizabeth Warren, has so much fucking money and yet she thinks that she can reach out to people and be like she knows their pain, like Bill Clinton. I feel your pain. No, you inflict fucking pain, Bill. What's that?
Don't hate people because they have money. I might be rich someday.
They
and guess who's getting
have money
off?
because they have money because they've been funded. They've never not had money. Hillary, Bill, all of them. That's because they come from these families. And where most of them go? Harvard, Yale, where they, get indoctrinated into, the communist. What was that? Larry, who's that guy that's supposedly dying? He's dying of lung cancer, and he's exposing Hillary and Bill now, like Larry something. He's making the talk show rounds, saying that the first time he met Hillary, she was wearing something around her neck.
A leash.
No, a leash. No, she was wearing something and it said the communists. Some kind of like she was part of a communist group or something, the Young Communist Groups or something like that. And then he said something to her, and then she screamed, "Get this guy away from me!" I mean, just an absolute. We have been so fucking deceived. We have been so absolutely manipulated by these fucking pieces of shit. But, like Clint says, this is their Larry Nichols. Thanks, Vince. Yeah, Larry Nichols. He was in that documentary, The Clinton Chronicles. I saw that. Anybody out there see The Clinton Chronicles? I watched it. It's pretty frightening what they've gotten away with. Like those two young teenage kids that saw the plane land and the drugs. Them because they had they landed somewhere, not in an airport. And they saw, drugs, or they saw something going on, and then they found these two young kids' bodies on the train tracks. Said they committed suicide. It's just frightening, to say the least. And of course, there's the top story on Drudge. Osama bin Laden's son vows revenge against the U.S. for killing his father in an audio message posted online. 21-minute speech released by Al-Qaeda. Hamza bin Laden promises to continue the global militant group's fight against the U.S. Such bullshit. Such fucking bullshit. So disgusted by the fucking lies and deception. How the world fell out of love with Obama. Is that even true? There's a whole lot of dumbasses out there still think that he's the cat's pajamas. The rest of the world fell as hard for Barack Obama as Americans did. Back in 2008, same qualities in the 47-year-old senator from Illinois that excited U.S. voters, enthralled people around the globe. Yeah. Or so we were told. He was a fresh face and a compelling orator. How about a horator? He had spent his childhood in the Asia Pacific. He's fucking bloodline douchebag. Fucking world. What a fucking fake fucking shell of shit. So it just goes on and on. It goes on and on. The beat don't stop, or the deception don't stop until the break of dawn, and then it continues again. It takes a little break. We got here over blacklistednews.com. Arch globalist Hillary Clinton's no prosecution. The recent exit from Britain from the EU, which torpedoed the unchecked advance of globalism. The current presidential campaign, which features a candidate, formerly two candidates, attacking globalism as no major candidate has ever done before. All this suddenly fades from the public consciousness in the specter of the Dallas shootings, the racial conflict that has been decades in the making, made in America by globalists for the express purpose of divide and conquer. I'll buy that for $1. Okay, that's John Rappaport. Okay. It's just so you can see that. It's the top article over there, Blacklisted News. 5 reasons this will be the summer of rage. The events of the past few days have played out like a slowly unfolding nightmare. A nightmare where you know the next bad thing is about to happen and all you can do is wait for it. Machine learning algorithm spots depression in speech patterns. That'll be in your local high school soon. Well, hey, Johnny, how's it going? Well, I didn't like what my mom packed for lunch. Oh, you sound depressed. Do you want a pill? I just wish that sometimes she would make me a ham sandwich. I never get what I want. Well, Johnny, are you poor? Is it that your mother can only afford peanut butter and jelly? Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, we're poor. And all I get is peanut butter and jelly when I really would like to have a ham sandwich. Boy, we got something for you. We got a new drug for you, Johnny. This learning algorithm just told us that you're extremely depressed, and we want to help you. Are you going to give me a ham sandwich? No. But we'll give you enough drugs where you think that you're eating a ham sandwich all day long. Well, that just sounds delightful. When can I start taking these drugs? Well, we've already given them to you. The machine that learns and spots the depression through algorithmic technology has already injected you with the needed drugs. So you won't feel like you're having a ham sandwich. It'll feel like you're eating a ham and cheese sandwich with bacon. Oh, that just sounds delightful. Thank you, kind sir. Thank you. Thank you. I'm forever in your debt. And if I kill you later, and I don't know why or can't remember, please don't hate me. It's okay, Billy. It's okay. How's that ham sandwich taste? Oh, it's just delightful. Thank you so much. Guy from Pharmaceutical Corporation. NATO says ready to stay in Afghanistan. Reiterating a pledge on funding for local security forces. It's a new Cold War, folks. As NATO plans for a new Cold War, some Western dissidents are questioning the scaremongering about Russia and the rationale for this expensive and dangerous revival. NATO has a very peculiar way of showing it doesn't want a new Cold War. On the first day of this weekend's NATO summit in Warsaw, Poland, NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg assured the public, we don't want a new Cold War. The Cold War is history and should remain history. Ignorance is strength. Ex-priest faces maximum of 2 years for raping boy with crucifix. Former singing priest Tony Walsh faces this maximum sentence of 2 years in prison. A court has heard this, and 2 years. Yeah. Okay. Just, blame God. Everybody out there, blame God and the Bible for what this guy did. Companies selling genetic data on millions of Americans. The question of our time has become, who owns you? Who owns your data? What about your DNA? Who owns you, brah? Police called after a third grader said brownies were made out of burnt black people. 2 kindergartners fighting. One student called another fat because the first called him short. A rough game of tag. And an alleged racist comment about brownies at a third grade class party that drew national attention. Well, brownies are delicious. I don't care what they're made of. Seven ways FBI contradicted Clinton's email claims. It's over there at Blacklisted News. Active shooter drill took place 8 days before Dallas massacre. The sights and sounds are scary, but not dangerous. Members of law enforcement, along with fire and EMS personnel, conducted an active shooter exercise at a North Texas high school on Wednesday. Emergency vehicles could be seen responding with lights and sirens at Argyle High School. Local hospitals also participated in the disaster drill. The event includes realistic scenarios that have actors playing victims and officers using fake gun rounds. U.S. to deploy some 1,000 soldiers to Poland as part of a NATO response. The United States plans to deploy around 1,000 soldiers to Poland as part of an effort to set up NATO's presence in Eastern Europe, President Barack Obama says. Here's how secret voice commands in YouTube videos could hijack your smartphone. Kitten videos are harmless, right? Except when they take over your phone. Researchers have found something new to worry about. I'm a researcher and I'm worried. I'm worried about the internet. I'm worried. It turns out that a muffled voice hidden in an innocuous YouTube video could use commands to a nearby smartphone without you even knowing it. Here's an interesting one. It's legal for Israeli police to kill Palestinian youth suspected of throwing rocks. Israeli police regulations, previously kept classified, permit preemptive and fatal recourse against someone or against suspected stone throwers. Israeli police are officially permitted to use deadly force against stone-throwing Palestinian teenagers, according to updated regulations made public on Tuesday by Israel-based human rights organization. The new open fire regulations revealed by Adalah, a rights organization and legal center that defends Palestinians living in Israel as well as the occupied territories, state that, quote, an officer is permitted to open fire with live ammunition directly on an individual who clearly appears to be throwing or is about to throw a firebomb, or who is shooting or is about to shoot fireworks in order to prevent endangerment. So, there you go. These here are the rules, see. Dallas gunman was upset about recent shootings, wanted to kill whites, says the police chief. And we've heard this. Dallas Police Chief David O'Brown said that the sniper told police negotiators that he was angry about the recent police-involved shootings and the Black Lives Matters movement. Although he claimed to be acting alone and not involved with any group, the suspect said he was upset at white people. I'm sure that's what he said. Yeah. The suspect stated he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers. Do we have a recording of this, or do we just have to take the lying media's word for it?
He wrote it in his manifesto.
Who wrote his manifesto? God damn those manifestos. Actually, that would be a good breakfast cereal. Mom, can I have more manifestos? Certainly, Johnny. They're GMO. I don't know if that's safe. The media says it is. I just love them, Mom. I don't care if they kill me in 3 weeks. I love manifestos. Putin signed sweeping surveillance measures into law. Snowden declares a dark day for Russia. See, this is obviously continuity of agenda. All these so-called Cold War stuff, they're just setting every element inside all these countries. They're setting up World War III, whether it's for real or whether it's fake, they're setting it up. Putin's part of it. There's no doubt, absolutely no doubt. Everybody's playing their part. There's no doubt in my mind. That's why any media, for the most part, is full of shit. U.S. spending on prisons grew at 3 times the rate of school spending. U.S. state and local spending on prisons and jails grew at 3 times the rate of spending on schools over the last 33 years as the number of Americans behind bars ballooned under a spate of harsh sentencing laws. A government report released Thursday said U.S. Secretary of Education John King, or U.S. Secretary of Indoctrination and Lies John King, said that the report's stark numbers should make state and local governments reevaluate their spending priorities and channel more towards education. Isn't he a nice man? Oh, what's this? This is a 33-year oversight. Oh my God, how come we didn't see this before? Let's change things, shall we? Surely. UK Foreign Secretary douchebag says the U.S. decision on Iraqi army led to rise of ISIS. Yeah, they're coming to get us. Ooh. Insiders say Hillary not out of the woods yet on emails. This is not a win, said an Iowa Democrat. Comey eviscerated all the excuses for Hillary and her team's behaviors. So yeah, it's not over. Sure, it's not. So it's all shit. It's all shit. It looks like nobody wants anybody to go to Storm Cloud's gathering anymore. Let's see what we got. I always would listen to those and say, hey, these guys kick ass over here at Storm Clouds. Very concise, calm breakdown of reality. Did we do this? I think we might have done that. Was 3 years ago. They haven't. They still have a YouTube channel, but they do not. They don't have. They don't have anything recent. Bless you. So it's sheer insanity is what it is, and it's going to continue, I'm sure. It's going to continue. Because I don't really think that, I mean, obviously these events that happen where people are killed, I do not believe that people would take such extreme measures. And this again, this whole Black Lives Matters thing is a front so that they can schedule and plan things around these events and protests. Now, you might not see another one for a little while, but it's but we know that it is we know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. It's not hard to figure out. It's sad, really.
when the MK. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum, some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we gotta teach a lesson to them.